Hi guys, welcome to the channel and welcome to this review of the new HM Mast from North. North are producing product after product at the moment, which is just blowing me away. My froth levels are going through the roof. I'm absolutely loving it. And these masts are their latest offering. So without further ado, let's get straight into the review. As part of the review, I'm going to ask the question, look, do we actually need an HM mast? They're really expensive. Shelling out your hard-earned cash to buy a mast, well, is it needed? Is it necessary? Well, we'll get to the bottom of that as well. Before we get into the meat of this review, I do want to highlight one or two inconspicuous points that may have just gone under the radar. The first one being that these masts are not just high modulus, they're ultra high modulus, which is the highest quality carbon that you can get your hands on. It's also worth pointing out that all fittings that come with any product is now full titanium. It's just an indication that North is going up to the next level in terms of performance and user experience. And lastly, I do want to harp on about the drop box system, which I think sometimes gets overlooked. I absolutely love this. So if you have a North board and a North foil, it's seamless. It comes in and out without having to think about it. You're not messing around with screws. I really like that feature. All right, without further ado, let's get straight into the first part of the review. So I want to start off first of all with the facts. They've written all of the data on the base of the mast. You can see all the information from the weight, the torsional stiffness, the bending stiffness, the cord minimum thickness, you name it, it's all there. They're obviously very proud of that and they're shouting it out loud. And I think they want other brands to do that so you can compare all of the data that they've gathered over the development and the manufacturing process. So if we compare the standard mast, which on a side note, I'm a big fan of anyway, and the HM mast, you can see that the standard one has a minimum thickness of 16 mil compared to the new HM minimum at 13.5. That's a huge reduction, and that obviously relates itself into more efficiency. The big wow factor of that is that they've maintained the same weight despite being able to increase the stiffness of the mast significantly. So the mast comes in at 1,900 grams, and that is very impressive. When you put the whole system together, it feels really light but solid in your hands. The range of the masts at the moment are the 80, 85 and 105. The 95 is coming out soon. What's interesting about the range is that they're not scaled models of each other. They are very discipline specific. Now what I mean by that is that the 80 really is designed for non-powered sports, i.e. your proning, your downwinding and your subfoiling. The 80 lends itself to wingfoiling, and then the 105 is very much kiting, towing and racing. I think there's a healthy crossover between the different mast sizes. I've been using the 80 and the 85, and although the 80 has been my predominant go-to, if I was only to buy one mast, it probably would be the 85. And the reason for that is because it's a little bit more versatile in terms of winging and then proning and supping. It's so efficient that actually that extra length doesn't get in your way. So really, this would be my go-to if it was only going to be one. The facts and the figures are all well and good, but it's got to be able to pass the beach test, which is when the board's upside down and your mate comes and gives it a bit of a wiggle and compares it to the other foils that are out on the beach. I have to say it has been an overwhelming positive feedback about these masts. Everybody has been really impressed with how they performed in the old wiggle test. It really does stand out in terms of stiffness, but where I think it comes into its own is efficiency. So why is it important that we have a stiff mast? Well, firstly, it's all about energy transfer and control, and this equates to pumping better and turning on waves much more easier. This is especially true for foils that are larger, have got a bigger span or a higher aspect, or if you're a heavier rider. Ultimately, it's all about performance and the feedback you get from the foil. You want to feel as connected as possible to that foil, which allows you to pump, turn, and really just have a much better experience out on the water. Like with everything in foiling, it's a compromise. It's a balance between cost, efficiency and stiffness. And the North HM Mast has delivered in spades in all three of those. They have produced a product that's precision engineered with style and bags of performance. And that whole package has come in at a price that's not ridiculous. It's actually very impressive when you look at it from that point of view. Let's move now to the most important part of any review, which is how it feels on the water. I could probably sum this up in 3 words, which is control, efficiency, and predictability. Pumping on this mast is what sets it aside from everything else. It's so efficient. I've pumped for extended periods of time with the whole mast in the water. It just blew my mind. Now, obviously, when you get to the most efficient part of the mast where you should be, it then goes into a next level. You get this incredible feedback under your feet, just tapping away. It feels like you can pump forever. Super efficient, and it just means you can conserve energy to either connect the next wave, go downwind for longer, or indeed just sit there and glide and enjoy the experience. Another standout for me is how predictable and controlled the mast feels across a wide range of speeds. Whether that's close to the stall speed or going Mach 10 down the face of a wave, you never feel out of control. The profile of the mast and the point at which it connects to the fuselage is ridiculously thin. The performance of this mast has taken my foiling to the next level, and I cannot wait to continue using it in a whole host of different conditions. I didn't think that an HM mast would have that much difference on my foiling, but it actually has. Now, that being said, I don't think this mast is for everybody. You don't need to have an HM mast if you're learning or you're using smaller foils. I think really where this comes into its own is if you are at a high performance, if you're incredibly heavy, or you're using large foils or foils with very big spans. In terms of negatives, look, I can think of 2. The first being the price point. We're starting to look at materials and labor costs that are going to increase the price. That being said, in terms of ultra high modulus and high modulus masts compared to other brands, it's actually pretty reasonable, and I'd say it probably sits bang in the middle. On that note, in terms of performance, I think it outperforms the majority of masts that I've used on the market. And the second negative, which really is connected to the first, is that because these are quite expensive masts, you're probably only going to buy one. And so you've got to decide between the disciplines of which mast you're going to use. I have alluded to earlier on, if it was going to be one, I'd probably go with the 85, which is a real shame because I love using the 80 for downwinding. I guess it all depends on which discipline you use more. So if I was just proning and downwinding, 100% it would just be the 80, and then winging a little bit depending, then that's where I would go. But if I was doing all disciplines and winging 90%, then absolutely I'd go with the 85. So in conclusion, I've absolutely loved using these masts. There's no way I can go back to the standard mast after using them. It's increased my performance on the foil tenfold. I can pump further, I've got a greater feedback, and I've got way more control when I'm on the face of a wave or I'm going downwind. I still think that the original mast has stood the test of time, and that is a great option for a lot of people out there. But if you want to take your foiling to the next level, experience incredible feedback, pump further, be more efficient and glide, then these bad boys are the masts for you. If you've got any questions about them, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'll get back to you as soon as I can, and I'll see you again on the water soon.